of Trustees for Berryessa Union School District is now called to order. Items to be discussed in closed session. All 5 board members are present. Items to be discussed in closed session. A, conference with real property negotiators, Government Code Section 54956.8, property 3435 Birchwood Lane, San Jose, California, APN 092-27-025. Agency negotiators, Superintendent Roxanne Fuentes, EDD, and Kevin Franklin, Assistant Superintendent of Business Services. Negotiating parties, Berryessa Union School District and Milpitas Christian School. Under negotiation, price, terms of payment, and terms of lease of property. B, conference with real property negotiators, Government Code Section 54956.8, property 1376 Piedmont Road, San Jose, California, APN 595-10-069. Agency negotiators, Superintendent Roxanne Fuentes, EDD, and Kevin Franklin, Assistant Superintendent of Business Services. Negotiating parties, Berryessa Union School District and Aspenville Company. Under negotiation, price, terms of payment, and terms of lease of property. C, student discipline or other confidential student matters, Education Code Sections 35146, 48918, 4890086, 48912B, and 4906086, and 20 U.S.C. Section 123G. D, conference with labor negotiators, Government Code Section 54957.6. Agency designated negotiator, Roxanne Fuentes, EDD, and other members of the negotiating team. Employee organizations, California School Employee Association, California Teachers Association of Berryessa, Teamsters Local 150, management. E, public employee discipline, dismissal, release complaint, Government Code Section 54957. Are there any public comments on closed session items from the audience? Or none? In that case, we will adjourn to closed session at 6:03 p.m. Thank you.
No, it's just like, it's honestly like a forum, and then you just
Kind of like
post.
Craigslist.
Yeah, something like Craigslist, and then people comment, and then they're like, oh, I'll buy it, or they message you on Facebook, and then you just meet up with them. So there's no fees or anything. It's just like, it's like the equivalent of posting just like on your feed, but then it's a designated spot on
Right.
Facebook. I got actually a lot of furniture off the Facebook Marketplace.
You bought?
Yeah,
Nice,
my,
quick bunch. It's good because it's a local, you know.
Okay, are we ready? All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming. The Berryessa Union School District meeting with the Board of Trustees will now reconvene to open session. Trustee Nguyen, could you please lead us in the flag salute, please?
Yes, please stand and face the flag. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Trustee Nguyen. Trustee, how could you please read the district mission statement?
Of course, Berryessa Union School District provides all students the skills to become lifelong learners and successful 21st century global citizens.
Thank you. Trustee Srinivasan, could you please read the norms of the Board of Trustees?
Yes, surely. The Berryessa Union School District Board of Trustees agree to focus on the best interests of students at all times, be respectful, listen openly, address problems and process, not persons, keep each other informed, maintain confidentiality, work towards the future, learn from the past, equal participation from all members, stay on task.
Thank you very much. No action was taken during the closed session. Adoption of the agenda. Could I please have a motion to adopt this evening's agenda?
Move to adopt.
Second.
Thank you very much. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Okay, motion passed. No recognition, no public, oh, no, wait. Is there any public comments on calendar agenda items? None. In that case, could I please have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
Move to approve.
I'll second.
Thank you very much. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. We shall continue on to item number 9. Are there any public comments on non-agenda items? None. In that case, we shall continue. Thank you. Item number 10, reports and presentation. Dr. Fuentes, please.
Thank you. This evening, we'd like to present to the board all of the different steps that have been taking place to help our school consolidation decisions move forward. So we have various members of our cabinet that will share with you where they are in this transition process. And we'll begin with Mr. Franklin.
All right, good evening. So just to update on where we're at on the facilities side within business services for our school transition. At the last board meeting, we were talking about approving the relocation of certain programs and staff. So where we're at with all of that is we've started the process to relocate portables or to procure portables or modular restrooms for the school sites that we were going to be adding portables to. So Ruskin and Majestic Way, our architect is working on drawings to submit to DSA. That will happen on April the 11th. Surveying has already been done for all 3 sites. And so the plan is for the paving for where those portables are going to be placed is going to happen during spring break. So that's going to be for all 3 school sites receiving portables. And then actually the portable relocation for Northwood, even though that was kind of the one that was seemingly the latest on the schedule, is the one that's most ahead at this point. So their meeting with DSA is actually on March 27th. So that one's been a little bit more simple for as far as the process so far. So that one's the one that's actually a little bit ahead of schedule. So one thing to caution is that the plan is to have paving done during spring break. However, if it rains, then that will change those plans. So we do have contingency plans in place as far as how to complete the paving in the event that it does rain to keep us on schedule. But that's kind of where we're at with the portables as of right now. Vincy Park, the portable modernization that we mentioned for the 2 former Sunshine School portables off to the side in the front of Vincy Park. That work is beginning next week and is scheduled to be completed after spring break. So we're going to fence off the area. We're able to kind of fence it off completely from students. There shouldn't be anybody around that area, but it'll be completely fenced off. We're going to divide the current 2 portables back into 2 individual portables by putting up a wall in between, because right now it's one big open space. And we're going to be renovating those restrooms that are currently in there with smaller toilets for our SDC preschool students. So Tony and I also walked all of the school sites that are receiving special ed programs and spoke with all of the principals about their plans for where those students would be located on the property, and figuring out if there were any other adjustments to restrooms or anything having to do with the classrooms that needed to be done in addition to what we were already thinking. So we need to know those locations. So we've met with them preliminarily about what upgrades are needed. There's very few upgrades that are needed, but there are some renovations that are going to be needed for the restrooms to serve some of our preschool students. And so we're starting to plan what those upgrades are. And then lastly, the school district advisory committee or 7-Eleven committee to surplus what will be the vacant properties is actually on this agenda tonight for approval of the committee. So we are starting that process, and the committee is scheduled to meet on March 18th, March 27th, and April 3rd, hoping to bring the recommendation from the committee to the board at the April board meeting. So transitioning from facilities to the moving of staff, we're currently in the process of meeting with school sites to discuss that process. We have the new school boundary and school finder tool on our website has been updated with those new boundaries. So families are able to go and look up the school site that they will be moving to. We have put out, or we're in the process of putting out, an RFP for a moving company to actually do all of the moving of furniture and curriculum and everything else associated with our staff movements from one school site to another, or even within a school site. So there's been extensive planning on that and trying to estimate how many staff will be moving within school sites, relocating to other school sites. And so those bids are due at the end of March. There was already a site job walk for that last week. And there were, I believe, 6 moving companies that came out to participate in that. So it sounds like there's a lot of interest. And so we'll see how those bids come in. Once we know which moving company has been selected, then we can start to finalize some of those plans, what type of bins they'll be using to move staff, so that we can start to tell them how to label those and what that process will be. And then we've already sent boxes to school sites for any personal items that staff would like to take home that they don't want us to move, in case they don't want it to get lost or broken. We have started that process and letting them know that they should take those items home and move them themselves, so that nothing will happen in the big moving process. So with that, as I pass it off to Dr. McCreary, one thing along with updating our websites, one thing that I want to do is commend our IT department, Stephanie Macias and Jackie Lambert, for all the work that they did with updating the online registration and doing all the testing to make sure all of that went through and was done appropriately. It was a big task. I think from the time that the board approved the change to the boundaries, we were able to get that work done in a week and a half. That was incredibly fast. So a big thank you to our IT department for doing that in such a timely fashion.
And before you walk away, Mr. Franklin, I just want to see if there's any questions from the board regarding this section of information.
Board, do you have any questions?
I just have one question regarding the Vinci portable that you're doing. So there was a concern about having either preschool or SDC preschool kids in a separate location. Is there a concern over here? Is there likely to be a concern about that at this particular location?
From a facility standpoint, no. I don't know, Dr. McCray, if you want to comment on whether or not there's any concern with having them separate in a portable at that particular location, but I don't think so. I think
so. I'm trying to understand the layout and then how far away it is from the main.
Right. So it is a little bit of a ways away from the main property, but I think it'll be a short distance for those students to walk from getting, most of them get dropped off by the bus over to those particular portables, and then access to the NPR or anything, which they don't typically go to the NPR for anything. They don't have lunch at our school sites, but everything would be kind of all in one in that area. They have even an outdoor space in front of the classrooms. Okay. There's a pretty big outdoor space there, and then they'll have the appropriate restrooms within the classroom. Right. So, the distance from the main building shouldn't be an issue.
Shouldn't be an issue. Logistically, I agree. I was just concerned about integration and things like that, from an optics point of view. But I understand what he's saying. So I just wanted to highlight that and see if there are any concerns. At the end of the day, I know that the kids do get dropped off and the parents do walk them to their classroom, so they do have the additional support. I do agree with that, but just wanted to see how the dynamics will play out at the end of the day. So thank you.
I also had one quick question too. What is the timeline for teachers to be moving out, and is there a process for them if they need additional time on campus, for example? Do they have that opportunity?
So we have that spelled out in the MOU.
Okay.
I think we gave them up through through June 19th to move out of their classrooms. What was it? June 18th. So they have right up to the holiday to kind of pack up their classrooms. But after that, that's kind of when we have planned to have the movers come in to do their work, because we also have our summer programs that we need to move in while we also move folks out. And so, there's a lot of coordination going on, but they do have that time, and they do have 20 hours of additional time that they have to pack up their classrooms. But those are all questions that they've been asking, and we've been going out to their staff meetings to address those questions and concerns.
Thank you.
Any more questions from the board? Thank you, Assistant Superintendent Franklin.
Uh-oh, we're not done yet. We still have more slides. Oh, the other one. It was Brian, the other. It was like. Okay, so now we're going to talk about students and enrollment. So like Mr. Franklin just mentioned, our district's online registration portal was opened last week on March 4th. And we already have lots of TK registrations, so we're doing really good with TK. Remember, this year, TK is expanding their time frame for allowing students to come into the district. So it's from September 2nd all the way until the end of August. So students could turn 5 in September and all the way until July and also turn 5. So it's another grade at each school site. Letters to families that were affected by the school transition process were sent out on March 7th. So once again, just like Mr. Franklin was thanking his staff, I want to thank my staff because we went through a lot of planning to make sure these letters were sent out, first of all, to the correct parents with the correct school, and pulling out certain, remember we had different little pockets of schools that got a little grandfathered in to make sure that those parents didn't get a letter that said they were going to go to a different school. And then all of our special ed programs that are being affected. So we really were very detail oriented in trying to figure out that these letters were sent out correctly to families. And so these letters also have a little portion at the bottom called an intent to return portion. And so the information there is, are you accepting your new placements? If not, you can fill out an intra-district transfer form. Where would you like to go? And then there's a process that's attached in a QR code for the families to then go through the intra-district process. And then there's also a third box that says we're not coming back to the district, we're moving, et cetera, et cetera. So the plan is that those letters are then returned by March 28th from the parents to the front offices. And so the clerks at the schools are gathering all of these letters, and then they're going through and sharing the information through a Google form with our team. So they're clicking on, they've received the letter, do they agree, are they filling out an intra-district transfer form, et cetera, because we want to track as much as we can how many students are going to be then moved to these their new schools, and we have to account for all of the numbers. And so like I mentioned, the impacted schools that are not happy with the change can fill out the intra-district transfer, and we'll do our best to prioritize those students. Oops, wrong way. And so in addition to that, last night we had an informational meeting to review all of the information I just talked about with the 3 schools and the parents of all 3 of those schools. So we reviewed the new school boundaries. We talked about the safe route to school, what's happening with that. We talked about the letters and what are the options. We reviewed some of the after-school program information. We also talked about our social emotional learning supports that are available now and will continue on for the next school year. We had about 20 minutes at the end to answer questions, and we're gathering all of the questions we weren't able to answer into a FAQ, and we're going to post that on the website in the next few days as well. So these were similar slides from last night's presentation, but just as we continue to plan for 25-26, we want to make sure that there's after-school programs available at each of our school sites. And so the majority of these after-school programs are staying the same, or we're adding an additional service. So as you can see right now, we have Brooktree at Rock. We have Rock and YMCA at Brooktree, which is similar to what we have this year. Same with Majestic Way. We have Rock and Alevo. Moving forward to next year, we have Noble with Rock and YMCA. So we have a very active YMCA program at Toyon. So they're going to be adding the YMCA at Noble for next year. Northwood, we're going to be increasing the number of seats for our YMCA folks. Ruskin, since it's going to be our biggest school, we have lots of opportunities for after school. We have Rock. We're going to continue with Alevo, Sunshine School, and a new offering that's new this year called Wellspring. And that's actually a Mandarin immersion after-school program for some of our families that don't speak Mandarin. They actually have homework help during the afternoon to provide that space. And it's not only open to our Mandarin immersion families, it's open to anyone. So even our English-only families can participate in the Wellspring after-school program. Summerdale, we're transitioning from the city of San Jose to YMCA, but it's still ACES. And Vinci Park, we're continuing with the YMCA. We're working alongside YMCA and Alevo very closely so that we can then get that registration up and running, hopefully by the end of May, early June. We're also in conversations with ROC to see if we can speed up their deadline for registration, knowing that a lot of these families really want to have this in place sooner than later. So we're continuing to have conversations with ROC. Usually they do their after-school signups in July. And so we're really pushing them to help support this this upcoming school year because of all the changes that are happening. And as soon as we find out more information about timelines, we're also gathering all of the existing programs. They have site directors. The YMCA has a website. We work very closely with the YMCA folks, and they have also given us permission to put their names on the website if there's questions specifically about the program, availability, pricing. We had a big Alevo meeting here a week ago, so that we're also really great partnership with Alevo. So they're also willing to help support in any way possible. And same thing with ROC. So the timelines will be posted, and we'll get as much as we can out to parents as soon as we know more information.
I think I'll just add to that. That definitely is a critical area of information for our families. Last night, lots of questions on how providers are selected. You know, you get accustomed to YMCA, for example, if they've been your after-school program. And so what we shared with the families was we sustained existing program providers at all of our schools, gave them the first option to be able to expand seats. And if they were able to do so, great. If not, then we brought in a second provider to be able to support increased number of students at the schools. So in case you're asked about that, it was a popular question. And I think, but, you know, we assured them that, you know, we're committed to providing after school care, but definitely they're interested in the price points. You know, there's families that have benefited from the ACES program, from scholarship opportunities that are provided through the different providers. So, you know, they're hopeful that those will continue and that, you know, sliding scales will be afforded to them and that those are the conversations we've been having with all of the providers.
We had one just today.
Quick question. I think I asked last time also. San Juan Bautista, I know that they operate independently, but do any of our students at Cherrywood and Toyon, right? They are the two sites that they have? Or
So
Cherrywood
actually, no, they have transitioned over the years to Cherrywood was their only school age program that they offered. The other locations, because they are at other sites in our district at Northwood as well as Vincy Park, but that's for, it was for preschool, which they're now transitioning to infant toddler care. So their programming has been significantly impacted by the ELOT funds and with public school offering TK. So it really has shifted who their clientele is. And so now they're focusing more on infant to toddler.
So none of ours at Cherrywood, none of our students.
We do have some currently that are in their after school program. However, they'll be able to be absorbed into these other programs.
Oh, I see. All right. Thanks.
So just to highlight some of the social emotional support that we're continuing to provide ongoing from this school year until next school year. So at each school site, we have a school social worker, and we're happy to say that next school year, some of these school social workers that have been sharing sites for so many years will now be at one site because we have bigger schools and we have a couple less schools. Each of our schools also has a community liaison, so we're going to continue that work as well to help support the students and families that are coming to the school with questions and concerns. We're going to continue with our School Link Services Coordinator. She's housed over at Piedmont right now, connecting students and families to outside resources as well. We are continuing our contract with Care Solace, and they're also another great partner that we've had over the years. and they help connect families to outside counseling services. Our school social workers work hand in hand with Care Solace. They actually do a handoff in order for those services to be provided. Daybreak Health is a new resource that we've added in the last couple of months, and that's also free to us as a new resource, and they are offering teletherapy, so via Zoom or Google Meets, and meeting with students that way at home. And in addition to that, we are continuing to talk through the offerings of our social emotional learning curriculum. We had a good conversation with our principals today about how we can continue and maybe get some more PD and support so that our schools are using it more effectively moving forward. Upstream is for our middle school program, and Studies Weekly is the SEL curriculum for elementaries. So we had some good conversations about that at our principal meeting today. And last but not least, we've really focused on adding a lot of additional parent workshops over the past few months. And so as you can see, we have one of them called Nurturing Effective Communication, which has already happened at two of the dates, February 6th and the 25th. We have two more dates coming up, April 3rd and April 8th. Our partner over at the Santa Clara County Office of Ed is Jamie Koo, one of our former parents. And so she's literally the one who runs all of these programs. We also had active parenting for middle school parents back in October and November. And we have the active parenting class for the elementary school parents happening this month. And once again, through these parent workshops, childcare is provided for free, dinners provided, and the sessions are pretty well packed with lots of parents and kids. And our para-professionals, instructional aides are our folks that are watching the students. So they're also helping out as well.
Yeah, and I really would like to just commend Jamie Koo. As you know, she's a former Berryessa parent, so very committed to our community. The first series of workshops there, Nurturing Effective Communication, she crafted just for us. And, you know, sharing with her the different challenges that school transitions were bringing, both for the children as well as for their parents, trying to give them tools to feel better equipped for the upcoming changes. So that workshop, they're open to anyone. So anyone, it doesn't have to just be Cherrywood families, for example. It could be anyone from the district. They could attend any one of those dates. It's the same workshop repeated at all of those locations. And it includes community building circle, learning your child's love language to be able to, you know, monitor how they're feeling through these transitions, and then learning some skills on how to be an empathetic listener.
All skills we could learn and refine. All right, any other questions about the ed services portion?
I had a couple, if I can remember it still. The intent to return letter, you said there's a deadline for March 28th. What happens if the parent doesn't turn in?
So remember, I said we're tracking who's turned everything in. So then when the clerks and the folks at the school sites will be calling and trying to contact the parents or send another letter out too. So we're really just making sure that we communicate as much as we can to get that information so that we can plan accordingly.
And if there's no response, you assume that the students.
Well, we're going to continue to do what we can. I mean, we also do home visits.
I see.
We get a lot of returned mail too. That we get mail that says no longer at this address. This address doesn't exist, and that happens more than we want to know. So we want to definitely follow up. If these parents aren't our residents, we want to also make sure that we follow up with that as well.
And I know we don't have. We have only a couple of McKinney-Vento students. How do we reach out?
Well, they have an address where they're living temporarily. And so once again, we have a list of those students. And those are also families that our community liaisons are very close knit with. And so Tom Carroll, our coordinator of student services, works with the community liaisons to make sure that we outreach even more to those families to make sure that if we want to get them to a school that's as close as they can be to where they're staying now.
Okay, thanks. And the other question I had is on safe routes to school. How's that going? Sorry.
Yeah, no, so we're still, continuing to look into, where some of the troublesome spots are. We did hear that the crosswalk off of Cropley will be done in April or during the spring. Dan Norris is currently assessing all the crossing guards, where they're at, and other drop-off areas for all of the school sites, and coming up with the plan, because the special ed students are now going to be located at school sites that they haven't been at before. So he's looking into that, and we're going to soon start to meet with ed services to discuss the best spots for those. Sometimes the spaces that we think are best suitable for drop-off are not what ed services agrees with, and so we're going to coordinate with them to talk about that, and then as bell schedules start to be developed at all of our school sites, which will be happening over the next few weeks, we'll also be discussing with principals the bell schedule start times and things of that nature, and whether or not any of those need to be staggered for traffic purposes.
Right. I think I brought it up especially with Ruskin and Sierra Mont. So that's being discussed and okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so bell schedules just went out to principals to start working on with their staff, and so that's going to be a process over the next 2 months or so.
Yeah. I understand. Okay.
Yeah, and we received a few comments from parents last night.
I would understand.
Letting us know their issues of dropping off children between school sites, et cetera. And so we let them know we're working on the bell schedules, and we'll keep those things in mind.
Okay. Thank you.
I also had sorry, I have one question. Sorry, Dr. Cho. Thank you all so much for your work, by the way. All of this was really wonderful to hear that we're really moving along. I just had a few questions about the parent workshops and also the Zoom meeting that you had with our impacted families. Are there translation services available for families who participate?
So one of the things that we had in the letter was some information on translations. One thing that we are going to make sure we do is translate as much as the actual video into the languages and post that on there. We talked literally the day before about trying to get our translators to help support, but it was a little complicated with breakout rooms and different things like that. So that's one lesson learned as we move forward, to make sure that we at least provide that opportunity, because all of our translators were, I think even Lourdes was on the call, helping support anybody that did have questions, but just trying to figure out, I know we had that program that we had during some of those board meetings. So that could be an option moving forward. We just have to kind of configure that through Zoom. So that was one opportunity that we did miss.
Yeah, thank you. I hope moving forward too, we'll really integrate that in case folks need it. But translated videos with captions are always good too. After the fact. Yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any more questions from the board?
One more slide
Okay.
from Mr. Cabrero.
Thank you, Assistant Superintendent McCreary.
Human Resources has been working to ensure that all classroom teachers have a school site placement, a grade level assignment by March the 24th. We have already notified the teachers of their school site placement. We did that before February the 28th. And if people did not have a school site placement, then we just put TBD. By this week, on the 10th, anyone who wishes to submit a transfer request to move to a different site or different grade level, they needed to be in by the 10th. Now, we gave the teachers at the school sites that are closing, Cherrywood, Toyan, and Lakeview, in addition, up until the 13th, to submit their transfers requests, which includes the site and the grade level, if they wish to follow their students, etc. We gave them a week after providing them the vacancy list for all the sites and grade levels at the schools, and they're the only ones that have that information. So that is due tomorrow. Once we receive that, The HR staff is then going to compile the information and try to accommodate as best as possible. And we plan to notify everybody by the 24th of their grade level assignment. And those who do not have a school placement will also be notified by the 24th. That's the information I have this evening.
Questions from the board, comments from the board? Thank you, Assistant Superintendent Cabrera. I know this whole process is extremely detailed, and it takes a lot of work to do this. So I thank you all for your efforts, because I know this is not easy, and it's continued to be not easy. So thank you. Are we on item 11 now?
Correct.
Oh,
Or
yes.
no, 10B.
10, oh, excuse me.
10B.
10B, District Professional Development Presentation. Dr. Fuentes, please.
Thank you. We recently had our professional development day for staff, and so we'll be giving you an update of how that went. Dr. McCurry?
Thank you. Nicole Paredes will be doing a presentation on the two PD days, but more specifically, the one that we had back in January 29th. So Ms. Paredes.
Thank you. Good evening. Yes, I'll be providing and reporting out to you around our 2 district-wide professional development days held this year. A quick overview, the dates that we held those professional development were September 18th and January 29th. Classified and certificated staff participated in those days. The sessions were held at various school sites as well as at the County Office of Education. The general schedule for both of those days, we had AM sessions that ran from 8 to 11. There was actually 2 sessions in the morning that were about 90 minutes each. Then there was lunch, and then we had afternoon sessions from 12 to 3. And just some highlights that I wanted to share, that the 2 days were for all staff. They were planned in collaboration with our CTAB Professional Development Committee. The sessions were designed to meet a wide variety of staff needs through choice sessions, and also many sessions that were led by Berryessa teachers and staff and administrators. So particularly in January, we had 26 Berryessa teachers and staff that led those choice sessions, which was wonderful. We offered a total of 31 choice sessions. We also built into the professional development day, in addition to the choice sessions, specific and job-aligned sessions. And there were site and district leadership team members that led sessions, and the feedback we received was quite positive. So the way in which we looked at supporting the variety of staff needs was through offering choice. So staff members, teachers and staff members could choose 2 sessions of their choice to attend. And we organized them around those sessions that were relevant and would meet the needs of all staff, classified and certificated, across all grade level spans. And that's a sample of the topics that we offered that were available for all staff. And then we organized some that were really geared towards specific grade levels or grade level spans. And so some of those included differentiated instruction, strategies to support and foster inclusion, interactive math activities, universal design for learning, FOSS, science, SEAL, supporting motor skill development, foundational literacy skills, and play-based learning. So depending on what interests and needs staff had, if it's grade level specific, they had those options as well. In terms of specific and job-aligned sessions that staff attended, for our classified staff, There were health training and updates for our secretaries and clerks and health clerks. We had early learning and literacy practices for our preschool and TK teachers. Our library media techs attended a session on AI tools and resources for libraries, and our special education paraeducators attended a session on supporting students with peer interactions. For our certificated staff, specific or job-aligned sessions included preschool learning foundations, SEAL strategies, and unit development. For the majority of our elementary teachers, they attended a session on our new Renaissance assessments for English language arts, how to look at those data reports and the intervention resources that are available within that platform. For our middle school teachers, they participated in job alike or content area specific strategies and resources for their content area. So the feedback from September, the question on the form asks, it was for the whole day, and it was, were the sessions, to the extent to which the sessions were relevant and meaningful to their work. And what I really want to point out here is that it became really clear when we looked at the actual rating on the scale compared to comments that there was some confusion on the Likert scale. So whereas a 1 would be strongly disagree, we had several that marked that, but their comments said it was an amazing day. The choices were so. But I wanted to share what the data was, but also let you know that when we combed through it, it became clear that they may not have been clear on what a 1 really meant and a 4. So in January, we fixed that and made it very clear in the question on a scale of 1 to 4. 1 is strongly disagree, 4 is strongly agree. The extent to which the morning sessions were relevant and meaningful, and I am thrilled to share this data. Overwhelmingly, nearly 88% or so gave it a 3 or 4, which is amazing. And then the same is true for the afternoon sessions, which were the assigned job-alike specific sessions. So very successful professional development days this year. And just to highlight a few of the pictures, I couldn't get them all from all 31 sessions, but in this, you'll see this is Heather Kane on the right, who led a session, and Amy Swain and Susan Pappert, who led a session. One of our county office partners, and 2 of our BCBAs. And really want to end this time in this report acknowledging the efforts of so many people and departments. It truly is a team effort, and it took all hands on deck. So our teachers, our staff, and our administrators, our CTAB Professional Development Planning Committee, Education Services, our instructional coaches, MOT and custodial staff, and technology services. Thank you. Any questions
Yeah,
from
I
the
think
board?
year over year, I think the feedback and in the content has improved. It looks like from what we've seen in the past, which is good. So great work on that. I think the peer-to-peer teaching methodology probably works better for teachers to hear from people that, I mean, other teachers that work in the similar thing. So I appreciate all the hard work, and let's keep the momentum going, and then keep improving and get that to 100%. 3 and 4 should total 100.
That would be nice.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Paredes.
Yeah, I do want to add just again a thank you to Nicole and the entire Ed Services team, because certainly this January session is the most content specific offerings that we've had in all of our professional development with, all of the different folks who also stepped forward to be able to deliver that learning, for their colleagues. And it really was great to be able to have that shared expertise across the district. And, we hope to be able to continue, but it does take quite a bit of coordination from everyone, those that are organizing the day to those that are preparing the actual professional development as well. So, a big thank you to everyone. Thank you for noticing the shift and, the trajectory that the department is working towards.
Thank you. Item 11, Superintendent's Report. Dr. Fuentes, please.
Thank you. Just a few things today. First, this month of March is our celebration for Read Across America. So our schools, especially our elementary sites, always do lots of fun things to celebrate reading, celebrate Dr. Seuss's birthday. So we have lots of wonderful highlights coming up in our monthly newsletter. And I just want to give a thank you to Majestic Way for their invitation to be out there and be a reader, as well as at Brook Tree. Those were really fun events. In addition, this month of March, our middle schools highlight careers. And so all of those special activities will be happening Morill Middle School tomorrow. So if you're able to stop over in the morning from 7:45 to 9:45, they'll have different learning opportunities for the students. And then next week on Thursday, March 20th, it'll be Piedmont and Sierra Mont's turn. So I know they're really good opportunities. Our community members get engaged. We get lots of parents who do fabulous things in their day jobs coming back to share with our students what those careers are all about. So hopefully we'll get to see you there. Also, this past Saturday, I was able to participate in the legislative brunch that was hosted by the Santa Clara County School Boards Association. Both President Boak and I were there in attendance. Their keynote speaker was Linda Darling Hammond, so it was really great to hear her. And quite a lineup of our elected officials across Santa Clara County. There were quite a few there, and such an important time to hear their vision and what their support will be for public education, especially after this week and everything we've learned with the U.S. Department of Education. And there's quite a bit at risk in terms of, our vulnerable student populations and making sure that they continue to get the services that they need. So we'll be even more dependent on advocacy to our local elected officials to ensure, whatever happens at the federal level, that they're going to be there to step in and fill those gaps. So I think this is a really important time to continue to monitor, those actions. Nothing at this point that, puts our Berryessa students at risk. We're still whole, but, we're monitoring the situation closely. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Fuentes. Item 12, comments, announcements from the board. Do we have any? Anyone? Okay. We shall continue. 13, review and discussion, public hearings. Let's go to now item number 15, review and action. Superintendent,
So for this first item, we have the 2025 California School Boards Association Region 20 Delegate Assembly Election. So you have a listing of candidates there, trustees across the county that are interested in being your representatives. We do have 4 that are currently the incumbents, and they have an asterisk next to their name. But this is a very competitive year. As you see, they've got several challengers this go around. So your task is to identify the 4 that you would like to see moving forward on behalf of Berryessa Union.
okay, so you, board members, you already have the candidates here. I'll just give my 2 cents in here. I would like to see these board members that would really be helpful to us coming from the east side of San Jose. I am thinking of Teresa Castellanos, Jorge Pacheco, George Sanchez, Banley. Unless you have any other candidates, let's discuss it. Go ahead.
I agree with those. Those are also the incumbents. I'll make a motion to, unless anyone wants to discuss.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm okay with selecting the current incumbents.
Okay.
I'll move
In
to
that
select
case, could
those.
I, yeah, thank you. Could I have, we vote on this. Could
Yes.
I have could I please have a motion?
We have a motion from Trustee Nguyen.
Second?
Oh, you did? Oh, it's been moved and seconded. Thank you, Trustee Nguyen. I didn't hear you. All in favor, say aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Oppose? Okay, motion is carried. Thank you very much to everyone. Dr. Fuentes, you have the list, right? Okay,
Yes.
yeah, that'll be fine. Thank you. All right, so let's go to Roman numeral 2, Board Bylaw, 9010 Public Statements. Dr. Fuentes, please.
It is recommended the board review and approve Board Bylaw 9010 public statements for a first reading. And so for this one just refers back to when making public statements, who is the board member that has that authority and responsibility? So here in Berryessa, our practice has been our board president. You know, in the absence of our board president, it would be our vice president and so forth. So just that reminder of who has authority to speak on behalf of the entire board. And then also the reminder to trustees when you are speaking with your own individual opinion, that you make that distinction that you are not speaking on behalf of the board, but simply giving your own personal opinion on a matter when you're out in the community.
Thank you. Any discussion from the board? If not, could I have a motion?
I'll move to approve.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you very much. Now let's go to Roman numeral 3. This is Board Bylaw 9012, Board Member Electronic Communications. Dr. Fuentes, please.
Thank you. It is recommended the board review and approve Board Bylaw 9012, Board Member Electronic Communications for first reading. So what this bylaw does is it brings in new legislation based on, or new policy based on recent cases that have happened. And it's a good reminder regarding your electronic communication, whether it's email or social media especially, to be very cautious when you might be engaging on items that are listed in a board agenda. You can, by liking an item, commenting on an item, be in violation of the Brown Act if it's an item that comes in before you here in our public forum. And so, we've had lots of training and conversations about serial meetings, serial emails. Now you've got to add the likes and dislikes of social media to that cautionary incidents. So just want to bring that to your attention. And I think also on this one, it also talks about if you are acting as your board member role on social media, you're also not allowed to block or hide people if they're dissenting of a district opinion. And that was a court case that went and solidified that it's a freedom of expression to that public individual. Okay.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, yeah.
Trustee
Sorry.
Howard.
Quick question on this one. So if I post on Instagram and then someone comments something negative, I'm not allowed to delete the comment?
Not if you're using that as an official board member account.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So you have to distinguish between your board member role and your role as just an individual in the community.
Okay. Understood.
So if it's getting gray, you're going to want to take a look at
Okay.
that.
I might have to talk to you all later because I have an active Instagram.
Yes, and that's where I said now with social media, like with Facebook, with Instagram, all of that, it just takes all of our practices into another forum. And, if the board would like, this is certainly something we can get a little, 1 hour training with our board council also, because
Yeah.
it can get very gray very fast. And so if that's of interest, we can certainly do that.
Thank you. That's great information. Okay, so could I have a motion, please?
Move to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion is passed. Thank you very much. Now we'll go to letter B, Business Services, second interim report for fiscal year 2024-2025, certification of fiscal solvency. Dr. Fuentes, please.
It is recommended the board approve the 2024-25 second interim report and the district's positive certification of fiscal solvency. Before you move forward with that, we do have a presentation for you.
Okay.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Today I have the pleasure of presenting the 2024-25 second interim report. Just as a refresher, the second interim report, budget adjustments take place throughout the year. The second interim is a chance for us to officially make budget adjustments based on information that we have received all the way through January 31st. So this is the current 2024 budget cycle. Currently, we're in March in the second interim. We are currently working on ramping up for the 2025-26 budget cycle, but this is currently where we're standing as far as the 24-25. So in January, the governor released his state budget, which included the educational budget, and here are some of the highlights within the 2025-26 governor's budget. So it's projected that the COLA would be at 2.43%. However, not all the final data points have been released. The last one gets released about in April in 2025. However, it's looking like that this 2.43% would probably be closer to 2.2%. The governor has also set aside money to help assist in reducing the student to adult ratio from 12.1 to 10.1. If the money is not allocated within the 25-26 governor's budget, then we would still remain at 12 to 1. But if their money is allocated, then we'll move to 10 to 1. Okay. Some other items, there's a student support and professional development discretionary block grant that has been allocated. The governor allocated about $1.8 billion in the state budget, which roughly equates to $323 per 2024-25 ADA for us. And this is coming next year. This is not this year. And lastly, in 23-24, we saw a reduction in the Learning Recovery Emergency Block Grant dollars. What is being proposed in the 25-26 is that he repays the districts the money that has been reduced over the course of 3 years, starting in 25-26. All right. So this is just basically analysis of our enrollment. Just basically shows that we're currently and still in a declining enrollment environment. So we're projected in 25-26 to be at 5,765 and then still decreasing to about 5,563 in 26-27. So these are some of the budget assumptions that we're using for our multi-year projections. The most important ones are, once again, the enrollment. So you can see that it's decreasing over the course of the 3 years. The P2 ADA projected is what we are being funded off of. So as you can see, it's also decreasing. The decrease is due mostly to our decline enrollment. STIR's enrollment rates are pretty much staying steady at 19.1%, but you do see an increase in PERS enrollment, PERS employer rate from 27.05% up to 27.50% in 26-27. All right. So, for the second interim, we're projecting that the actual revenue is going to be at $96.6 million. You can see some differences that have taken place between the first and the second interim. The biggest one coming from the state revenue. And so basically, the reason for such a large increase or change from the first interim to the second interim was because we have been notified that is due to the ELOP funds. So basically, what the state did was they reached out to all the districts within the state, and they're pretty much clawing back all the unspent ELOP dollars and then reallocating it to the districts. So our portion of that is around $800,000.
Josh, if you can just share with the board, because it's more complicated than that with ELOP. There's a tiered system. And really what I'd like the board to know is we're not in the top tier for funding.
Correct.
That now that it's differentiated. So if you can share what that shift is.
So basically at the time, there was two different tiers. It's based on our unduplicated count. And so they give those districts who have a high UPP count additional funding. And then whatever's left over, because we're in the lower tier, we get whatever's left over and it gets reallocated, or that gets allocated to all the second tier districts. So what ends up happening for 21, 22, and 22, 23 is we had a lot of districts that didn't spend a lot of that funding, right? And so in statute, basically what it allowed the state to do is reallocate those funds up to $2,000 per ADA. So I don't remember the exact dollar amount that we were allocated the ADA at the time, but now we are receiving up to the $2,000, which equates to the $800,000 dollar amount that we're receiving this year.
Yeah. And the other reason I asked Josh to share that is because this shift happened mid-year. And so, it was a loss of revenue for us initially. So we did have to adjust and change course to all of the ELOP programming that we were providing. Didn't necessarily impact our after-school programming, but we were also expanding service to lunchtime programming that we had to reduce because of this mid-year adjustment.
And to make things more complicated in 25, 26, I think, was it 75%? The UPP count for the initial allocation was at 75% UPP, and I believe they're dropping it down to 55%. So now we may even be getting less in 25, 26.
Right, because that means there's going to be a greater number of districts that now qualify to be in tier 1. But we are still below the 55% threshold, so we'll continue to be at that second tier, receiving whatever's left after that first tier distribution.
Yeah, and that makes it hard for us to plan for the budget year because we don't know what our rate is. So there's a lot of advocacy going on with this budget, and we'll see what happens in the May revise. But what's been being advocated for is to at least set a set rate for the tier 2 districts so that for planning purposes, we have an idea of what the minimum revenues will be that we can count on. And then if there are any adjustments over and above that, then that's a plus for us. But that at least we have some way to plan because we haven't had a mechanism to plan for. It's just been estimates. And so what we've seen over the past 2 years is that what we started out with our ELOP program and funding has decreased by approximately $1 million within a 2-year time frame, which really impacts our programs as, districts were being told the priority is ELOP and to build out programs. We build out programs based on the revenues that we're receiving, and we understand we're in declining enrollment, but a decline of $1 million is 25% of our revenues for ELOP, and we did not have a 25% drop in enrollment. So, it's not fair to the tier 2 districts to not have an understanding of what that funding will be and to have to continuously adjust their program moving forward. So we'll see what happens in the May revise.
Yeah, I apologize for that sidebar, but it was a significant change. So I wanted to be sure you were aware of that.
So this is just a percentage breakdown of our revenue. You can see that 72% or the state's allocation model by ADA is the largest percentage of money that we receive. We get about 13% from other state revenue, which includes like items like ACES and ELOP, transfers in. So we are making some transfers in for the current year based off of some of the retirement benefits that we're paying for out of Fund 20 and some facilities costs. We do have local revenue, which are donations and leases. So we have donations to the school sites. We have leases with multiple sources. And then the smallest piece, about 3%, is we get from federal revenue. So not too much. So there's not too much of an adjustment from the federal revenue. Okay. So we still are deficit spending. Some of it's planned, so some of it is on the restricted side, and some of it's on the unrestricted side. So there's a plan to spend about $103 million. You can see that there's minor adjustments between certificated salaries, classified salaries, and benefits. But the biggest issue or biggest increase from the first interim to the second interim is in the services and other operating expenses. So that equals about $2.1 million. So where is that coming from, right? So the majority of it is coming from just some adjustments related to the after-school programs. We received $800,000. We added that into the budget. However, we do have increases in, for example, our utilities costs, right? So electricity has increased about $400,000 from what our initial budget was. There are some pieces where field trips coming from the school sites aren't initially budgeted, but as they like, for example, science camp, they raise money. So there's money coming on the revenue side, but there's also expenses coming out. We have increases in legal expenses for this current year, special ed contracts, and transportation contracts. So all of those have actually, there's a reason for the increase for that line item. So just to kind of further break down the $103 million, you can see that the majority is spent on certificated salaries, employee benefits, and classified salaries. So salaries and benefits, which makes up about 88% of the total budget. 15% is made up of service and other operating costs, and then small portions are for the remaining line items. But to even kind of further look into the certificated salaries, classified salaries, and the benefits, you can see that certificated non-management equates to about 67%, classified non-management is 24%, certificated management 7%, and our classified management is about 2%. Also, I'd like to break down and show kind of where the $15 million for the contracts or the services and other operating costs. So the majority of it, 22%, is our after-school contracts. A large portion is utilities and special ed contracts, and we have about 9% in insurance, 7% in software. But you can see the majority of that line item comes from the after-school contracts, which is on the restricted side, utilities, which is mostly on the unrestricted side, special ed contracts, which is technically on the restricted side, but we do have to make contributions to special education, and then insurance is on the unrestricted side. So those are the largest contracts that we currently have.
I think I also just want to remind the board too that insurance liability costs have increased significantly. A lot of that is a result of litigation. And then with utilities, that has been a significant impact to all school districts and is a point of advocacy with the Santa Clara County School Boards Association in looking at locally with Santa Clara County, is there anything that they can do to help reduce the cost and burden onto utilities for school districts? So that's a new area of interest that the trustees will be advocating for.
So is it the utilities, is it the electrical component or the gas component? Because
All of the above.
how are our solar panels doing? Are we generating enough? Are we getting any generation credits back? Or
Yeah, I mean, the panels are generating. We did have 2 months where I think we had broken panels. And so we did notice that and we did get those fixed. But unfortunately, we do have to pay for those increased utility costs. We also had some anomalies with water during a couple of months, especially months when we were on break. And so we're trying to investigate that to see if that's due to just a misread on the meters, or how could there, without having a significant water leak, which we didn't have, how could those costs have gone up so significantly for those couple of months? So we're still looking into that to try to find the source of that increase. But just across the board, utilities have just climbed extremely high. We do have our solar projects that are going in. Through some of the projects that Tony has mentioned at some of our school sites. So that'll help moving forward. But really just the costs of PG&E in particular have gone up quite a bit.
Anyway, I know it's a lot to ask, but I just wanted to put it out there. Do we have any mechanism, or is there anybody reviewing the efficiency of the panels year over year? And I know that there's some degradation as far as the output goes. Is there any way anybody monitoring that, and are there any cleaning services that I know that they use distilled water to clean out some of the dust, because we do get a lot of dust during the summer months, that not necessarily all of it gets washed away by the rain. It needs treatment to actually get properly clean. I know it's a lot to ask, but just curious whether anybody's monitoring that efficiency of the panels also.
Yeah, so we still get reports from ENGIE, who is the provider or that installed the solar panels. So we do get yearly reports that Dan Norris reviews. And Dan also has, I don't know if it's ENGIE still that comes out to do the cleaning, but we do have annual cleaning from ENGIE, and they come out and they clean the panels. That's a lot of times when we do find and assess some of the broken panels and do the replacements. This time the panels were broken outside of that cleaning period. And so it was the monitoring of the bills that drew our attention to that, that led to us fixing those. But we do have those annual services.
Thank you.
All right. So as far as our multi-year projections, this is our total general fund. So you can see we're still deficit spending across the 3 years, 25, 26, and 26-7. That deficit spend is more on the restricted side. And so it's not really affecting our ending balance on the unrestricted side. What's more important to look at is the multi-year projections on the unrestricted only side. So you can see we're still deficit spending in 24, 25, 25, 26. We're pretty much breaking even. And then in 26, 27, we're pretty much turning it around and then ending up with a fund balance of $647,000. Please keep in mind that we meet the 3% required reserve because it includes Fund 17, and Fund 17 currently has about $2.8 million. So the 2.8 plus the ending balances ensures that we make that 3% requirement. So with that being said, it's staff's recommendation that we do a positive certification. So with interim reports, there's 3 different types of certifications. There's a positive certification, which means that you can meet all its financial obligations. A qualified certification, which means that you may or may not be able to meet all your financial obligations, and a negative qualification or negative certification, which means that you cannot meet your financial obligations. So we will meet all our financial obligations based on our current projections. So some of the next steps is we do have the May revise, which will give us updates on all the things that occurred from the governor's budget. And we're currently in the process of starting the 25-26 budget development and the LCAP. Any questions?
Questions from the board?
Go ahead, Trustee Hauge.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the presentation. I just have a couple of questions for you. Just going back to slide number 3 on the governor's budget highlights. For the student to adult ratios shifting from 12 to 1 to 10 to 1, is that upon appropriation, or will we be responsible for the additional staff needed for TK?
It's upon appropriation. So it's been embedded into his initial budget, but that is all up to legislation or whatnot. And so we'll find out probably in May to see if that's going to actually be funded. So we only have to move to 12 to 1 if we're actually funded.
Got it. And also, I know that numbers are still coming in for our incoming school sites, but do we have kind of projections on what our Title I schools will look like with the 10? Do we know those numbers yet, or are we still the
No,
transition?
not yet. And we do have an item on the agenda coming up for Title I, so we can speak further to it. But we need to have the children transition over and then take in their new lunch applications to solidify what those numbers will be.
Thank you.
Any more?
Yeah, just had a
Go ahead.
comment or question or suggestion. I think we brought this up last year also, the possibility of creating a trust for retirement. I think we'd spoken about it. We did. I did attend the session at the our CSBA again this year to try to understand better what it entails. And from what I understand is we need a board resolution to get the trust formed, and we can fund it anytime later. My suggestion would be to try to get the trust established. From what I understand, and maybe you can investigate more, it doesn't have to be funded immediately. If we ever get a one-time grant money that we is a surplus, at that time we can fund that trust. The benefit of having money in a trust for retirement is it gives you a better rate of return compared to what we get right now. So in the long run, it is beneficial for the people that make use of those retirement dollars. I think we should, as a board, at least have a resolution in place to establish that trust. We don't need to do anything more than that. But it'll be good to get some investigation going on how we can get that funded, and what are the are there any drawbacks or restrictions in doing that? But at least let's get that started. Maybe 10 years from now, it might be beneficial for the future employees of the district. So just want to bring that up because the contribution rates, I was looking at it, it's just ridiculous. It's just crazy for STRS and FIRS. That's a big impact for us. So just wanted to highlight that. Thanks.
Any more questions, comments? None? Thank you,
Thank you.
Josh, very much. B2, oh, that's right. I am sorry. I'm just looking at the clock, that's why, sorry.
I'll make a motion to approve the second interim report.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded for approval. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is passed. Now let's continue to Roman numeral 2. Resolution 24-15, appointing 7-11 District Advisory Committee. Superintendent, please.
It is recommended the board adopt Resolution 2415, appointing our 7-11 District Advisory Committee members. Kim, if you can please roll up the listing. So there's the listing there of the individuals that we're recommending to bring forward. If you recall, a 7-11 committee is legally to be a Brown Act committee, so it'll function as such. It's 7-11 because you can't have less than 7 members and no more than 11 members. So we are bringing forward the max 11 to be part of this group. The majority of the individuals on this group did participate in our school consolidation advisory committee. So they have a lot of background regarding our facilities and needs of the district. We also have others that have been active in other committees in the district. This particular advisory council does have specific roles that the members need to fulfill. So we wanted to be sure that we identified that role next to their names. So you can see how it's all outlined there.
Very nice. Comments from the board?
Yeah, this list has been vetted. I mean, I recognize most of the names on this. I think one name, there was some concern about one parent in that list who was part of the consolidation committee that is probably not a current parent or something like that.
So
was this-
everyone here, so anyone on the committee
Mhm.
must be a resident of Berryessa.
Correct, yeah.
And so that has all been validated to ensure that they do live within the boundaries in terms of the roles that they play.
Okay.
That is not required of our teacher, for example.
Yeah.
They fulfill a different category.
Right.
If that position required a residential requirement, it's listed on the table.
Okay. Just want to make sure that the list is fully vetted and
Yes.
we know who's
Mhm.
who's what and what role they're playing. So just
Correct.
wanna make sure.
Yes.
All right. Yeah, I'll make a motion to adopt the resolution 2415.
Thank you. I have second?
Second that.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. This is a roll call vote. Ms. Gomez, please.
Yes, President Boak,
Aye.
Trustee Jimenez.
Aye.
Trustee Howe.
Aye.
Trustee Nguyen. Trustee Srinivasan.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Motion is passed. Let's continue on. Thank you. Roman numeral 3, Aspenville Company lease agreement for lease of property at 1376 Piedmont Road. Superintendent, please.
It is recommended the board approve the Aspenville Company lease agreement for lease of property at 1376 Piedmont Road, formerly our district office. So as you know, that we've had this property available for quite some time, trying to seek an appropriate tenant for that space. So we're pleased to bring forward someone that we know will have some viable service for our community at this location. Aspenville Company provides elderly supervision care for the day. So I know that we would have lots of community members that could benefit from that. The lease agreement that you have here is missing one component, and I'm going to let Kevin explain what needs to be attached and will be coming to you at an upcoming meeting.
Yeah, so what's missing from the lease agreement, which the lease in itself has been agreed upon by the tenant, they've signed off on it. However, it's missing Exhibit C, which is basically the work to be done and paid for by the tenant to upgrade the site to meet their needs. And so they weren't able to provide that documentation in time for this meeting. So the recommendation is to approve the lease conditional on Exhibit C being completed successfully and by a licensed architect. And it would be a mutual agreement on those plans, and we would have the board reapprove the lease inclusive of Exhibit C in 60 days. So they would have a 60-day timeframe to provide this exhibit to us for approval.
Thank you. Any comments from the board? Could I have a motion, please, for approval?
And I'll just to provide
Oh, go
further
ahead.
clarification that motion coming from the board will specifically be approval of the lease agreement between Aspenville Company, which is our prospective tenant, ourselves as Berryessa Union School District for the property at 1376 Piedmont Road, with conditional approval on the tenant providing the district with a mutually acceptable Exhibit C within 60 days of the effective date of the lease. And we will be bringing that back to you for public approval once again.
Thank you.
I'll make the motion as described by Dr. Fuentes.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is passed. Roman numeral number 4, Rohit's Cleaning Services, Inc., approval of a CUPCCAA agreement to refinish the gym floor at the Berryessa Youth Center, BYC. Superintendent, please.
It is recommended the board approve this agreement as stated.
Okay.
I have a question about this. So this is a joint use facility with the city. So is the city contributing any money to this or?
Yes, they pay half.
All right,
Oh,
sounds good to me.
sounds good to me too. Sounds good to me. Motion, please, for
Move to
approval.
approve?
Second that.
Thank you very much. Moved and approved. Well, moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. C, Human Resources. D, Education Services. Roman numeral 1, Title 1, Part A, School-Wide Program, SWP, Waiver for Brooktree, Lakeview, Summerdale, Toyon, Vincy Park, Piedmont, and Morel. Superintendent, please.
It is recommended the board approve the Title I Part A school-wide program waiver for these schools. And this is just to emphasize, this is for current year funding for 24-25.
Any comments from the board? None? If none, please, may I have a motion for approval?
Move to approve?
I'll second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Thank you very much. Motion passed. E, Bond Program. And Roman numeral 1, IT Management, Inc., Change Order Number 1 for Contract 03-2023-24 for Security Alarm System Replacement at Noble, Summerdale, and Toyon Elementary Schools. Superintendent, please.
It is recommended the board approve the IT Management, Inc. Change Order Number 1, and this is a credit back to the district for $25,000.
I'll take that. Motion for approval, please.
Move to approve.
I'll second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is passed. Roman numeral 2, Mobile Modular, Inc., request to piggyback purchase 1, DSA approved portable classroom, and 2, DSA approved portable restroom buildings from the Santa Rita Union School District bid contract number 21024. Superintendent, please.
It is recommended the board approve the use of the Santa Rita Union School District bid contract as described.
Thank you. Any comments from the board? If not, could I have a motion, please, for approval?
Move to approve.
Second?
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Roman numeral 3, Turf Star, Inc., request to piggyback purchase 1, Toro Model GM5900 commercial lawnmower from the Sourcewell, the Toro Company of contract number 112624-TTC. Superintendent, please.
Thank you. It is recommended the board approve the use of Sourcewell bid pricing as on the contract as described. You could see here the projected cost for these lawnmowers are pretty hefty, 151,000 plus, and not even an electric vehicle. So, but definitely it's an item that's in desperate need.
Okay, thank you. Any comments from the board? If none, could I have motion, please, for approval?
Move to approve?
Second that.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion is passed. Number 16, request for follow-up. Do we have any request for follow-up? If none, let's continue to item 17. Items for future agenda. My fellow colleagues, none?
Just the one that I mentioned with the trust.
Yes,
You can bring that back.
that I understand. Okay. Number 18, adjournment. Okay. Could I have a motion, please?
Move to adjourn.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. For adjournment, it is all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Well, I'm sure none. Thank you very much. Motion is passed. Meeting is adjourned at 8:32 p.m. Thank you very much and have a good evening.